Hi, I'm Andrea Brinnel, and I'm going to take you on a tour through the module I designed for MHE 628. Just in case you are interested, I'm using Screencast-O-Matic to do this presentation, and in this free app online, you're able to record your screen or yourself or both. I am choosing to record both my screen and myself for this particular tour. So the reason I ended up doing the module I did is I'm actually an adjunct faculty member here at BayPath, and I was in touch with my supervisor, and I asked which course either is in need of redesign or one that they're planning on redesigning anytime soon. And I was told that EDU 310, which is Guiding Young Children's Behavior, was one that they would be interested, that my supervisor would be interested in talking about redesign. So I chose the third module from EDU 310 to redesign. So what this module is, you see on the screen, it is about the importance of relationships. I began with, open this up, an overview. And for the overview, we discussed the importance of relationships. I told them what the course competencies were that were important. And I also clearly stated the learning objectives and also tied them to the course competencies that they go with. Next, I have the week 3 learning materials and assignments. I give them what would also be stated in the syllabus. I give them the book and I give them the citation. And then I tell them which specific chapter or chapters they need to read and a brief summary of the chapter. And then I also include supplementary material. And for that, I included videos because I do think that I do have students that say that they really learn well using that more visual approach, and they need that support to really help understand the material. What I found is that most students do watch the videos. I do try to keep them on the shorter side. I try not to have any really lengthy videos. If I do, I tell them up front, this is a lengthy video, but you may want to watch and actually give them the sections of the video if they don't have time to watch the entire thing. I also review what all the assignments are going to be for the week in this section. Next is my first activity. So what I did was I did this as a Google form. I tried to do it as a drag and drop activity, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I came up with a plan B. And what I'm having students do for this activity is they have to go in and they have to check off which applies to each kind of communication. So doesn't follow through. Is that a form of passive communication, assertive communication, or aggressive communication? And they have this for a whole bunch of characteristics. And then they're to provide an example for each kind of each of the characteristics. This is really, it's mostly an ungraded assignment. They're going to get 10 points for participating, but it's not a high stakes assignment. It's just a way to get them to think more about the different kinds of communication that they will be experiencing and will be participating in, and also to look at some of the more concrete characteristics to help them either avoid or implement. Next is an activity about developing classroom rules. In early childhood, it's very important that classroom rules be stated positively. So I'm asking them to sort of do a simulation in their mind. So they're going to look at all of these rules that children have identified, and they're all identified negatively. I'm going to ask them to watch this video, which is an open source video from Eastern Connecticut State University about developing rules, and then have them develop, based on what the children said, 3 to 5 positive classroom rules and a narrative as to how they would do it and why it's important to do that. And I do have the rubric right below that assignment. I would have a rubric for every assignment in it. I have not prepared a rubric for everything, but in this required assignment, it's really important because it helps clarify the expectations for this assignment. Next, they're going to talk about assertive communication and do some self-reflection. I'm finding, especially in a class about behaviors, self-reflection is extremely important. So I'm asking them to identify a couple of factors of assertive communication and something that they find challenging, and also use their personal examples to illustrate it. And then my plan for this as a web-based activity would be to share randomly with 2 classmates. I don't think it's necessary to, especially because people are speaking very personally, to have everyone's posted and then everybody just pick which ones they want to watch. I want to make sure everybody gets feedback from their classmates. So I will randomly assign two of the presentations, which should be pretty brief. I'm saying about 8 slides. So it's usually about 5 minutes, 6 minutes for most students, 8 slides. And then have a classmate give them feedback on that. So the most important part of this is not only that they're able to self-reflect, but that they're also able to have a conversation or a simulated conversation with a classmate about the presentation that they did and about why they chose what they chose. Next is a quiz. I'm not really big on giving quizzes. What I decided to do was just to give a quick check-in. A lot of students I teach will have to take the Massachusetts teacher exam, the MTEL, so I do think it's important for them to get used to multiple choice questions and short essay questions. So this is not a very high stakes one. It's only 50 points. I also have no time limit for this, so they can look things up. My goal is not to see if they have information memorized, but more to get them used to the format and making sure that they can access that information. And I think if they haven't really internalized it, just the fact of looking it up to answer the question will help with that. So this is just 4 very brief questions, and I chose to have select all that apply rather than choose one answer for all of these. And then the last question is going to be, again, a self-reflective question about what they would do differently with a communication strategy. And I give them an example from a classroom I taught in and what I could have done to give them an idea that I'm not looking for a super lengthy answer, just sort of here, identify the situation and identify the strategy. Again, I'm not huge on quizzes. I think that a lot of students that would otherwise do very well in a class could, I think I have to hit submit to go to the next page. Okay, so let's see. So I can go to the next page, and it will self-correct as well. They'll see what they got right and what they got wrong other than the essay question. And then the last thing I have here is a discussion. I know we designed 2 discussions. I decided to only include 1 in my module because I felt like I had enough assignments, and I want them to be meaningful and not necessarily voluminous with the work that they're doing. So I felt 1 discussion was adequate for this module. So again, this is about effective communication and having a response with their classmates about suggestions for positive strategies that could be helpful in the situations that they described. I find when I give students sort of a pathway to how they might want to respond to each other, it really helps them get started. This is an undergraduate course, so I don't always have students that have a lot of experience doing this, and they need sort of a story starter or jump start to really do well in that type of an assignment. So I will go back to the module, make sure I've covered everything. I have. I think the most important thing that I learned is I have designed a course for BayPath before, and I never really understood how the course actually went together. And I have a much better understanding of, I get teased at work with technology about the you can't get there from here kind of discussions about what's reasonable to design and what is not reasonable to design. Case in point, my drop and drag activity I thought was a great idea, but it was really too hard to implement, so I came up with Plan B. The other thing was to keep in mind everything I designed for this course everything went back to the learning objectives and the course objectives for every single assignment. And I think that's really important, that idea of backwards design. I wouldn't have been able to have a cohesive module unless that was always in the front of my mind for each thing I designed. I hope I've given you enough of an overview for you to understand what I was trying to get at, and I look forward to seeing yours as well. Thanks. Bye-bye.